Have a listen to this. Have a listen to this.
Interest rates are higher. I know people don't like that, but you should be welcoming the stronger economy.
And maybe a deal has a point about the machinery of capitalism being oiled with the blood of the workers.
The United States is a country that has always paid all of its bills.
Lannister always pays his debts.
Don't let the bastards get you.
Hello and welcome to Comedian versus Economist. My name's Adam and we're joined as always by my little older brother and real life economist, Thomas. Hi, Thomas.
Yeah, g'day Adam, good to see you.
Yes, nice to see you too, albeit from a different angle. We're trying a different camera angle today here in the CVE studio. Let us know what you think. Check it out on YouTube at CVE Podcast. You'll find all of our videos from all of our episodes. What do you prefer? Do you prefer just front on, smack bang in your face, or do you prefer a bit of side angle? Anyway, a massive show coming up. Like us, you've probably been looking at political instability, global trade wars, and Trump wankery and thinking, when moon? Well, what if I told you moon soon, Thomas? Moon soon. Inflation is dead, much like me after yet another CVE break dedicated to talking about inflation. And what's wrong with McDonald's? One thing's for sure, it's you. It's not McDonald's. But first, Thomas, you called it. Dutton not only lost the election, but he lost his seat. It was a bloodbath. Where to from here for the poor old Liberals?
Yeah, it was a wipeout in the end. Interesting, the polling firms were a bit conservative. After being wrong-footed with the Conservative vote in previous elections, they overcompensated, so underpredicted the Labor win this time round.
Right.
But Labor won in a landslide and the Liberals are smashed. They're in a really difficult position, I think. So their primary vote fell to 30%. And all the primary votes been falling for the major parties. I mean, it was 45% only back in 2004.
What's the primary vote? Like
that's the number ones.
The number ones, okay.
Number ones.
Yeah, we've got the chart here is like Labor coalition.
Yeah.
And then some others? No others.
No others. This is just the primary vote. And just saying that the share going to the major parties is falling. And so we're seeing a lot more candidates on the ticket and a lot more candidates to the right. So you've got, this time you had One Nation. You also had Clive Palmer's Trumpet of Patriots.
Yeah.
So that the right vote is being split a bit more.
But they didn't do well, did they? Trumpet of Patriots?
No, they had nothing to show for all their money they spent on it.
Sucks to be them.
So it's interesting for the Liberals. If you look at the coalitions where they're at now, they've got about 40 seats.
Yeah.
Only eight of those are urban seats. The rest are rural seats. So the Nationals held on to all of their seats. Nationals didn't lose the seats, but Liberals lost.
Rah-rah land.
Rah-rah land.
Yeah, regional and rural Australia.
Okay. Right. Yeah, I've heard that one before. Rah-rah land.
Hey, if you're welcome to use it, that's fine.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So I think the thing that's interesting is that that sort of classically in the Liberal Party, the urban parliamentarians are more moderate. They have less conservative right-wing views. They're a bit more centrist, and the Nationals tend to be a bit more rah-rah in their leaning. But the pure average now has shifted a long way to the right just because there are much fewer urban parliamentarians.
Right.
And so the challenge is they've got to win back these urban seats, but they're going to try to do that with a parliamentarian base that has shifted a long way to the right.
Right. It's going to be a tough sell to people in like inner Sydney that we need to do more about growing cabbages or something like.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But the national, like for example, like nuclear policy was very unpopular in the urban electorates.
Yeah.
But the Nationals are doubling down on that. Like they've said, like, no, we're not changing our nuclear policy. We want to back nuclear.
Oh, they do. I would have thought they would have been against it.
I think they've been captured by the coal lobby.
Right.
It's my sense. And I think the nuclear policy was always just running interference on the renewables transition and just keeping coal in power for longer.
Yeah, right.
And so I think the national parties, much to their shame, have been captured by the coal industry. Gina Reinhardt. in my humble opinion.
All right. And well, salmon was a big issue too. There was the salmon farms in Tasmania. That was a big, didn't they got that wrong too, didn't they?
I never got across that one, but yeah, Tasmania was a wipeout. That's gone completely red. It's all labelled.
Yeah, I think it was all to do with the salmon. The salmon's destroying the oceans down in Tasmania.
Right. Okay.
So people who care about, I don't know, people shouldn't care about salmon. There's plenty more fish in the sea, Thomas, as they say. But who cares? Like, just give me a nice piece of battered flathead or something. Like, salmon's just overrated.
Yes. The globalist elites pushing the salmon agenda.
I think so. Cry me a river. Put the salmon in there.
But so that's the challenge for the Liberals, is that they've got to appeal to the urban electorate with a parliamentarian base that doesn't really want to do that. And so they're a bit stuck, I think. And same story with the female representation in the coalition is down to 20%. Which is lower than where it was in 2001. Labor hit 50%. That was their target. They've now achieved that. So 50% of Labor parliamentarians are women. Yeah. And so that's the long-running problem in the urban electorates, is that the Liberal Party seem to have a women problem. That's not getting better in that. So they're going to struggle to rebuild and re-win these urban seats, I think. Even just to come up with policies that are going to appeal to that base is going to be a challenge.
Is this because they follow, they're stuck because they need to boost the women membership of parliamentarians, but they also want to follow Trump's kind of lead, and he wants to kill off all the DEI policies.
DEI stuff, yeah.
So they're kind of like, well, we're going to have to, because it's obviously it's not working out, right? Not having, like, there's a ton of reasons to have more women in Parliament, and Labor's like clocked that, and they're like, yep, makes sense. Let's have 50-50. That seems like a no-brainer. And the Liberals have gone, nah, DEI doesn't resonate.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I think they ran a lot of women this election, but it was all in urban electorates, and not many of them got up.
Right.
So I think they were trying, and they were trying. They were trying, but it just hasn't come off yet. And they've ended up with a blokier, more conservative parliamentarian base now, which is going to be harder to campaign from. Yeah. I think the other chart we've got here is ad spend during the campaign. So Trumpet of Patriots topped the ad spend. So this is just on TV and YouTube. So, and probably once you add text messages,
I was going to say, I thought their entire campaign existed within the confines of SMS. I didn't see a mention of them anywhere other than just daily text messages from Clive going, "Hey." It was unhinged. It was like, you feel like going, "You all right, Clive? Like, are you drinking or something at the moment?" Like, so, I don't know whether there was they tried to, because I think text messages are still sent in, like, the original text message had a limit on it, and if you send a longer one now, it just smushes them together. So the phone kind of does it, but they're still. So maybe they're trying to come in under if you send a really long text, I think it's like. I don't know, that may be really old architecture, but interesting. Anyway, so they topped the ad spend for YouTube and TV, 24 million. Outspent Labor. But had nothing to show for it. And the Greens, they only spent 1.5 million. And then, got a much, equally have nothing to show.
have nothing to show for it. But
if you're going to buy nothing, at least buy it cheap. I think that's the lesson here. If you're going to spend money and get nothing, then don't spend a lot of money.
Yeah, smart. I mean, the Greens were getting most of their ad spend out of shopper dockets just to save money, but
catch of the day.
But I think it's interesting because the old wisdom was that you could spend your way into power. Right. But I think we're seeing this in other electorates too. But 24 million and nothing to show for it is, I think the idea that a Liberal pollster was saying, like, all the spend in the world doesn't help you if you don't have something worth saying. So you've still got to have a message that connects with people. Yeah. So I think that's interesting. One final point I'd make is a lot of people talking about this, about like the anti-Trump sentiment and saying it's like a swing to the left given how far Trump's gone to the right. But I don't think that's true. I don't think we're seeing that, because if we'd seen that, we would have seen the Greens pick up more votes. I think what you're seeing is more of a retreat to the center and more of an incumbent boost. So you had progressives get power in Australia and Canada, but in the same week, you also had conservatives getting power in Singapore and Romania, which are the other two elections we had. And so with the cost of living crisis in 2022, 23, we saw an anti-incumbent vote. So it didn't matter whether you were a progressive or a conservative government, you were getting punished in the polls because of cost of living. We're now seeing the opposite, I think. Whether you're conservative or progressive, in the era of Trump chaos, people are just going I'm just going to stick with what we've got because I know that. So we'll do that. So it's not a progressive shift. It's a incumbent boost.
It's going to be the other big election that's happening at the moment is for the new Pope.
Yes.
Very difficult to stick with the incumbent in that election. I think they're going to have to take a chance on a new candidate.
Yeah, I need to opt out of all the cardinal SMS messages I'm getting.
Ministers of the Patriots. All right, Thomas, a lot of talk about doom and gloom in the world, but could we be in for a boom soon? Is there room? Is there room for a boom?
Room for a boom. Shout out to Tommy and his bedtime stories.
Yeah. It's time for room for a boom.
Yeah. No, I think there's an interesting chart here from Callum Thomas at Top Down Charts. The argument he's making is that the global growth outlook is being dialed back. IMF has downgraded their forecast for global growth this year and next. Fund managers are now expecting, more of them are expecting a recession. Right. So,
especially in Mexico by the looks.
Yeah. Well, Mexico's a connector country, so a lot of Chinese companies set up in Mexico in order to avoid the trade wars after the first Trump regime.
Right.
So they'd manufacture a widget, send it to Mexico. Mexico would put a lick of paint on it and then send it over to the US with a Made in Mexico sticker.
Yeah.
On it. So, yeah.
Hasn't worked out well because it's not like Trump's a big fan of Mexico.
No. Well, it worked for a while. A while. But yeah, they're closing that loophole.
Right.
Yeah, so some big falls in, China, US, Mexico, the growth outlook's being dialed right back. And that's become the consensus view. The consensus view is growth is going to be quite weak this year, possibly tilting towards recession.
Right.
But what Callum Thomas is saying like that's very focused on the trade war. And there's still a lot of uncertainty around the trade war. Like it could all be over tomorrow. By the time this podcast come out, it could be all finished. You just don't know. But on the other side of that, you have the economic fundamentals, which are looking fairly robust, particularly when you consider interest rates and what's happening with interest rates. And so the global average interest rate in advanced economies has come off 100 basis points from its peak, and it's probably going to get another 100 basis points over the next 12 months, and possibly more if the trade war goes a bit crazy. So 200 basis points of rate cuts typically translates into strong growth. And the chart that he's got here, he lines up interest rates with global manufacturing from the PMI survey and saying there's a pretty tight relationship there. When rates go down, manufacturing growth gets a lift. And there's a bit of a gap there, and if that closes, we could see a big lift in global manufacturing output.
Right. So this is potentially at the moment, like this is holding up growth or negative growth, causing some sort of recession. So the monetary policy is going to hold that up. And so you're saying that they could fix the growth issue because of the trade wars. So they fix that, and then the monetary stimulus kicks in and it goes like,
yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. Like if Trump had never launched the trade war at the start of this year, just based on what's happened with interest rates, you should have expected really strong growth this year and next.
Yeah, right.
Because of what's happened with interest rates. But then the tariff story has sort of detracted from that, and now everyone's worried about that, and and that's what's driving people to ratchet down their growth expectations.
Right.
But that may not come to pass. And you might actually
or it might come to like really big pass.
Yeah,
which is the other side of that story too, right? Like potentially Trump like just doubles down on it, and it's just like 1,000% for everybody
For everyone.
tomorrow.
Yeah. That's right. It's possible. Yeah, but that's what Callum Thomas is saying. That like everyone has sort of priced in a recession this year or next or something close to it. But he's saying that you could actually get a boom. That's not inconceivable looking at the data. And he's sort of saying like there's a sort of an idea that you can't have a global expansion at the same time as you've got a US contraction, that you haven't really seen that before. But he's saying, but right now we've got very idiosyncratic factors affecting the US outlook, like Doge and tariffs, and tourist numbers to the US are dropping, and there's some very specific factors. So you could, like, it's not so one scenario is that the growth outlook falls. That's the consensus scenario. But it is still possible that the growth booms. And it's possible that growth booms and the US goes into recession. That could also happen, which would be, I think, one of the first times that's happened.
All right. Wow.
So I just thought it's interesting, like saying, it is doom and gloom, but maybe there's room for a boom.
Excellent. All right, let's take a break here. Still to come on CVE, the inflation that starts the nation and why you are a problem for McDonald's. We'll be back with more CVE right after this. Welcome back. You're on Comedian versus Economist. Don't forget you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at CVE Podcast. Thomas, inflation again. What's going on?
Yeah. I was looking forward to some snappy intro, or at least a pun. It's like, nah, inflation. What is it?
Here we are again talking about inflation. Why do we care about inflation today?
Well, I mean, the good news is that the trim mean measure, which is the RBA's preferred.
I was hoping we'd start at trimmed mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no. Okay, so the trim mean is the RBA's preferred measure. That's what they look to. That came in at 2.9% in the March quarter. So back in the target band. First time that's happened. So we're back in the target band.
Oh.
So yeah.
Oh, way to go! Everyone, did enough of us successfully get fired? We lost our jobs, or is this the slow growth story?
I mean, I think inflation is easing all over the world. All the supply shocks from COVID have completely worked out of the system now. Just the trend is down. We're back to, there's just a sort of that 2 to 3% target band kind of has a natural gravity because it anchors expectations, and that's what people expect. Yeah. So without anything else crazy going on, inflation just naturally tends back towards that at that target band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So job done.
Is a job done? But it sounds like the RBA didn't do anything in particular, and the government really didn't do anything in particular. Everything just kind of worked its way back to lower inflation. Is that? I mean, who do we thank for this?
Who do we thank
for this drop? Anyone, or do we just go, good job?
I think the RBA, was late to the rate hike party, hiked aggressively. I think, if we stabilise in the band now, that looks like it was the right thing to do.
Yeah. So
RBA did what it needed to do. Government was leaning in the wrong direction, with spending heaps. Yeah. So they definitely don't deserve any thanks. But RBA, they did what they did. Yeah,
maybe that government behaviour changes now the election's finished. Do they start leaning away a little bit from spending? Because
I think that's a very interesting question. It'd be very interesting to see what happens. I wouldn't hold out my hopes, but it's possible. It's possible. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing which I thought was interesting in the inflation data is that new dwelling purchase inflation continues to deflate. So we've had 4 to 5 months of deflating construction costs. So houses are getting cheaper to build. That was one of the big stories that construction materials really was up 40% or something. from COVID.
Yeah. So builders were going bust and all sorts because they were locked into quotes they'd given. And it was changing so quickly that they couldn't keep up with the. Yeah,
that's right. Changes. I mean, the construction industry was leading the nation in terms of bankruptcies. So
Right.
So that's
good.
That's a good news story. So that's starting to unwind. So that's good news for builders. I mean, it's not. Yeah, probably won't. Go too far backwards, but it's starting to ease. So that's a good news story.
It'll help. It will help with the 9 new houses that Labor's promised to build too. For the housing crisis. Right. And does that? So that's house building. And what about renters? What does it mean for renters?
Yeah, rental inflation's coming off. Like it peaked at around 8%. Now that's sort of coming down to about 5.5%. So good-ish news. I mean, it's not getting worse. But I mean, 5% inflation is still a bit rough, but it's not as bad.
Right. Oh, well, this is generally positive news for a change.
Yeah. Generally all pretty good news, and it all opens the way for rate cuts.
So, yeah.
Because like it sort of says that we don't need really restrictive monetary policy. We can cut rates if we want. So, in a couple of weeks, RBA will meet. Most likely, you get 25 basis points out of them then. Some people even saying 50. I doubt it, but definitely get 25, I reckon.
Yeah. Well, I'm picking 75.
Oh.
Like a triple cut.
Whoa. Contrarian.
Yeah. Well, someone's got to be out there, Thomas. Someone's got to be pushing the boundaries. You just, if you don't ask, you don't get. Well, it also fits the model, right? Like, which is that we've had inflation and high interest rates, and it's been pretty shitty for a while. And so now there's finally a skerrick of good news, and we're all kind of grateful and like, oh, this is amazing. This is so good. When really things just got a bit shit for a while there. Cost of living went up and there was all sorts of problems. So, I feel like this is the Trump model, right? You just kind of tell everyone you're going to tariff them 100% and then they like 10%. Whereas, if you just told them 10% from the start, they would have been like, what? 10%?
Right. So your plan is to tell everyone expect 75 basis points, and then when we get 25, everyone's like, screw those CVE guys. They're idiots. Smart. Maybe you found a flaw in my plan. All right, Thomas, people are losing interest in McDonald's. What's going on? Yeah, I thought this is US data, but they just reported the quarterly reporting. They're saying same-store sales fell 3.6%, which is the largest 3-month drop since COVID.
What a same-store, man. Like you buy a burger and chips at the same place, or you?
No, like it adjusts for like new stores opening, so it's not looking at like total McDonald's sales.
Okay.
Across all chains, because the number of chains is fluctuates.
Right. Okay. So they sort of track each store and go, well, each store is down. Okay.
Yeah. So down 3 points. So quite a big fall. The McDonald's chairman saying consumers are grappling with uncertainty. The other thing I like is saying that more people appear to be skipping breakfast entirely or eating breakfast at home. So big drop off in the McDonald's breakfast spend.
The staple of the most important meal of the day is a sausage and egg McMuffin.
That's right.
Wasn't that a Kellogg's marketing thing anyway? The most important meal of the day.
Oh, was it?
I think so.
Yeah, right.
I don't think there's any sort of nutritional truth to breakfast being the most important meal of the day.
Most important meal of the day for us.
For us, yeah. And for McDonald's, it turns out.
Yeah. So I bet it's interesting. Like it confirms what we're seeing in the consumer confidence data out of the US, that people are starting to cut back on spending. The other thing that it confirms is that they're saying that they're seeing a drop off in traffic from low and middle income earners. Yeah, but high income earners stable.
Yeah. Stable at bugger all. Like, how many of the top income earners in the US are dining out at McDonald's? Imagine that in the Bezos household. Oh boy, Jeff, sure am tired after our trip to outer space. How about we nourish both our body and soul with some quarter pounders from Macca's?
Yeah, I do wonder what share it is. Yeah, it's funny.
It's no accident that they said high income earners were stable. Like They didn't say high income earners remain some of our biggest selling customers. It's just the 3 high income earners that had a weird, addiction to Maccas kept doing it.
Yeah. No, I reckon. I think the obvious thing here is that McDonald's is going to pivot towards the high end here, based on this. So we'll get a Maccaviar hors d'oeuvre.
Yeah. Premium offerings from Mickey D's.
Yeah.
But middle and low income earners are leaving it as well.
Yeah. Well, no, they're seeing big falls in
Big falls
in the low and middle income earners.
Right.
And I mean, this is typically how it works. We are seeing this in the consumer confidence data. We had a chart a little while ago saying that high income earners are fine. Like this whole story isn't touching them.
Yeah.
They're doing great. So yeah, it's all sucks to be poor.
Why does McDonald's give any sort of indication as to why people are not doing it? Like, I feel like this is like McDonald's kind of going, people are struggling and cost of living crisis. Has McDonald's ever considered that maybe they just got over McDonald's as an option, and that there's a lot of other options out there, and that people are, I mean, maybe
this is the call after the reporting. So it's a much better story for investors to say, blah, blah, global economic uncertainty than it is to people hate our stuff. Do you know what I mean?
People don't like our kids' parties anymore because they're shit.
Yeah.
They used to be all the rage. All the rage to McDonald's kids' parties. Now you just get some angsty teenager with a mop in one hand and a phone in the other. Only feed their servings, their TikTok feed.
The other thing that was interesting is that McDonald's did note a notable uptick in anti-American sentiment, particularly among diners in Northern Europe and Canada. Saying Trump's not helping McDonald's sales in Europe or Canada.
This is like the Tesla story, though. Like, when you were telling me that the secondhand Tesla price is going down because people are getting rid of their Teslas because they didn't like Elon Musk. Like, I don't know. Are people that conscientious about fast food?
Well, I mean, I know.
Boy, I could go a snack. But not from that American corporation.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, they have a legal duty to not lie in a conference call. I mean, I don't know how you back this up, but that's what they're saying. They're saying an uptick in anti-American sentiment. So
just surveying people that didn't go to McDonald's. Standing out in front of a Macca store, just as people walk past. Excuse me, sir. Can I ask why you didn't walk in here? So it's Yanks.
I don't know. It's probably anti-American sentiment from the people who are actually buying stuff.
Yeah.
I hate you guys, but I'll have just a Le Royale with cheese, please.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to go get a Happy Meal. I'm really not. I'm not going to. I actually haven't been to Macca's in a long time.
Is it because you hate America?
Yes. That factored heavily in my...
On a scale of 1 to 5?
Yeah. No, I'll go through a pretty arduous decision-making process when it comes to what I'm going to have for lunch, Thomas. Yeah. International sentiments certainly make up a large part of that decision-making process. All right, that'll do us. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'd love it if you shared CVE with a friend. Tell someone you know, or someone, if you ever get asked the question, hey, got any podcast recommendations, then make sure CVE is at the top of your list. That would really help us out, help us keep doing what we're doing. But other than that, that's all from us for this week. Until next time on CVE, it is bye for now.
Comedian vs. Economist is a product of Equity Mates Media. All information in this podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional finance, legal, or tax advice. The hosts of Comedian vs. Economist are not financial professionals and are not aware of your personal financial circumstances. Before making any financial decisions, you should read the product disclosure statement and, if necessary, consult a licensed financial professional. Do not take financial advice from a podcast. For more information, head to the disclaimer page on the Equity Mates website where you can find ASIC resources and find a registered financial professional near you. In the spirit of reconciliation, Equity Mates Media and the hosts of Comedian vs. Economist acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today.